Of the Waxahachie Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that all 7 trustees are in attendance, and this meeting has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been duly posted for time and manner required by law. At this time, the board is going to convene into closed session according to Section 551.001 et sec of the Texas Government Code. It is now 5 p.m. Okay, it is now 6:14. The board's going to reconvene into open session. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Cooper to lead us in our invocation, and I will lead us in our pledges of the American and Texas flags.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, most gracious eternal God, God of all knowing, all seeing. Father, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to serve our students and our school community. Father, you see the many challenges that are being faced in the school districts. Father, we ask that you would help us to see the things that need to be seen, that we may put our students in positions that they may thrive. We ask that you would continue to grace our staff with the grace that is needed that they may do an exceptional job. And Father, we just again pray that your hand be upon our school district. In Jesus' mighty name we pray, thank God, amen.
Next item on our agenda will be our open forum. At this time, we do not have anyone signed up to speak. So at this point, we're going to go a little bit out of order. We're going to jump down to our action item B, which will be consideration with possible action to hire a director of human resources. Ms. Burkhalter.
All right, good evening, Board and Ms. McCutcheon. It's my honor to recommend Derek Zant as our position of Human Resources Director. Over the course of his career in our district, he served with distinction as a teacher, assistant principal, and principal, gaining valuable experience and a comprehensive understanding of the needs of both students and staff. He's currently pursuing his PHCLE certification, which will further enhance his capacity in this role. Perhaps most importantly, Mr. Zant is highly respected across the district for his professionalism, collaborative spirit, and the strong professional and positive relationships he's built with staff at every level. I'm confident that his leadership, experience, and commitment will make him an outstanding addition to the HR department and a continued asset to our district. So at this time, I'd like to recommend Mr. Zant as our HR director.
Okay, Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item B as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Kriegel,
Second.
second by Mrs. Timmerman. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, Mr. Zant. Okay, moving to item 5, which will be our report A, which will be our superintendent's report. Ms. McCutcheon?
Okay, good evening, board and attendees. Thank you all for being here. Just a couple of things I wanted to give you an update on. We have started our fall campus rounds and changed those up just a little bit. One of the way we're, I guess these are organized is we're starting with just sharing what my vision is for the district as we move forward, giving the campuses a quick update on where we are in Waxahachie Creek High School. And then I have asked the staff in campus-specific and department-specific questions via a survey to just give me their discussion topics and what they feel they would like to talk about. So we're spending a lot of time in these campus rounds really just kind of question answer and really going over the things that are important to them. So the presentations for each campus might look just a little bit different depending on what the feedback is I get from them before the meetings. So we've had one so far, have another one on Friday. Enrollment, wanted to show you where we are on enrollment and our average daily attendance. Of course, we just have our comparison from August 29th to May, back to May 2022, and you'll see enrollment on August 29th was 11,181. Average daily attendance of 10,554, and that is at 96.39% attendance. So I know Mr. Calden would like to see that attendance percentage that high. That would really help throughout the school year. So, okay. On my one-on-one meetings, I have committed to one-on-one meetings. I've told y'all that. I think I've had over 60 at this point. I've kind of lost track. But I am taking notes and keeping up with those. And so that's really helping me with making those one-on-one connections with staff throughout the district and really gain some deep understanding of our operational processes and then department and campus knowledge. So those have been really beneficial. I think I have 4 left is what Nisa told me. So that's always, those have been really, really good. Wanted to give y'all an update also on WISD 101. So the 25-26 cohort has begun. It's made up of community members, some are parents or family of our students, and we did have 18 that signed up to attend this year. And kudos to Ms. Lockridge and Ms. Trull for all their work on that, and they'll be held each month at a different location. So our first one was here in the boardroom. Okay. Oops. And also just wanted to give you all a quick update on our principal focus and DLT meetings. We started those a couple weeks ago. We started with principal focus meetings, and those were really where we talked about a lot of different guided updates. We talked about themes, all kinds of operational processes that principals needed an update on. We did spend some time talking about campus safety and how we were going to be documenting those processes. And then today we had an in-depth legal update from one of our attorneys that went over a lot of updates from the current legislative session and then also their Chapter 37 behavior training. So I think that those were really beneficial meetings and dates that we got together with the principals. And so I know Mr. Cagle has a meeting coming up on the 17th with the assistant principals to help them on some guided practices and updates as well. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or any additional thing? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. Oh, sorry, one more. How can I forget? Homecoming. Homecoming is October 10th. There's been some questions about the parade, and so our parade, we are following the same route as we previously have. Now, this year, the parade is limited to 50 floats. That is based off of the approved, by the city, it's been approved by the city for 50 floats. I know there's been questions about why that's only limited to WISD groups, and it's because we already have 42 just WISD floats entered, and we know we're going to hit that 50 before too long, and so I'm really trying to follow the mandates from the city of Waxahachie. And kudos to all those that are coordinating this, Mr. Cagle, high school, our PR department, and athletics, Mr. Rogers, and also Mr. Cagle's administrative assistant, Felicia, they're really working hard to make this all this organized and the parade that we're used to having. So October 10th. Okay. Now I think that's my last slide. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item will be our quarterly demographic report. Mr. Calden?
Thanks, sir. Good evening, board and Ms. McCutcheon. I want to give you the most recent demographics update. This is from the second quarter of 2025. It's in pretty much the same format that you're kind of used to seeing. So we'll start with looking at unemployment in the local economy. Ellis County tends to be right in line with DFW, if not a little bit less in terms of total unemployment. Ellis County, DFW both a little bit less than the state of Texas, which is enjoying a little bit less unemployment than the country as a whole. So good news in terms of unemployment rates here in our area. Total housing area or housing activity in our area, you'll see still about 45,000 starts in Q2 2025. In the Dallas Metroplex area, still the largest amount of starts in that quarter. And you'll see about a 39%, 38% change from the number of starts in the second quarter of 2019. So still very robust housing growth in our area, the total market area as defined by Dallas, but still healthy for all housing. Kind of looking at in all of DFW, new home starts and closings. A little bit of an inverse at the moment where we have annual closings exceeding annual housing starts. Those numbers are relatively close together, about 2,300, the difference between the closings and starts, but it is more in line with kind of what you would expect, even though it is a little bit inverse. We're not seeing what we saw back in 2020, 2021, where we had such a large delta between starts and closings. Overall, looking at the housing market trends in DFW, if you're comparing the first two quarters of 24 with the first two quarters of 25, we've seen that sales of homes have slowed down a little bit from where they were through the first two quarters of 24, and the average price of a sale has come down a little bit from where it was in the first two quarters of 24. That said, the median price is actually higher in the first two quarters of 25 than it was in 24. So that sounds like we've got more properties, maybe of a higher value, that are selling in 25 than were in 24. Total listings are up in 25, and the total months of inventory on the market are also up. So kind of tends to lead to the conclusion that home prices are up, but they're not selling as fast as they were selling roughly a year ago or even years before that. So when we look at just district home stats for our starts and closings, you'll see a little bit of movement between 24, 25 on the starts and closings within quarter one, quarter two, but we're roughly on pace with where we were last year at about the same point. So we're pretty much in the same ballpark. Our starts are outnumbering our closings through the first two quarters of 25. Kind of break this down by elementary zone. You know, every time that we're up here doing these reports, you hear me tell you that I'm really concerned with those futures. But if you'll look out across the way, we've got the yellows as the highest activity in that category, the green is the second highest, and then that salmon color as the third highest activity in that category. And you see a concentration generally between Clift, Shackelford, and Wedgeworth as you go across the table. But when I look out at the futures, where I'm concerned is that still 13,000 planned futures in that Wedgeworth zone. That elementary school is not going to contain 13,000 future home sites. So it is a number that we're going to continue to watch. I believe it is down a little bit from some of the last quarterly reports that we've been given. But overall, total futures are up. It was about 19,000. It's about 21,000 now, total futures. But a lot of activity underway or planned in the Cliff zone, in the Jimmy Ray zone for futures, Shackelford zone for current activity, and then Wedgeworth, current activity and futures. How that looks on our district map. So this is a map of the entire district. The green are active subdivisions where development is currently taking place. Yellow is future planned development, and then anything that's outlined in red has groundwork underway. So there are 43 active subdivisions at the moment. There are 20 future subdivisions in various stages of planning. Of these, groundwork is underway on more than 1,000 lots within 15 different subdivisions. So board, you'll see that just about every one of our elementary zones is touched by some sort of development planning, either current or future, and a good bit of those are already underway. So if we focus in on our top 5 performing subdivisions, we have Dove Hollow that's pretty much straddling the line between Shackelford and Simpson zone. I believe it's actually in the Shackelford zone. Symphony Estates and Camden Park that are in the Cliff Zone. We have the tail end of the North Grove development in the Simpson Zone, and then we have Oak Creek Ranch out in the Wedgeworth Zone. So we're seeing that these are the 5 most active at the moment, and there is a really big number of closing differences from the top to the 5th, from Dove Hollow at 176 closings down to Oak Creek Ranch at about 36. Kind of dive in a little bit to some of these. You see Dove Hollow, again, that boundary, that school district boundary line between Shackelford and Simpson separates essentially right between North Grove and Dove Hollow. Dove Hollow, 620 total lots, 240 are vacant developed. At this point, 51 homes are under construction, and 312 of those 620 lots are already occupied homes. So we're about halfway through that development cycle for Dove Hollow. They're moving at a pretty good pace at this point. I anticipate that they will be, running out of lots, as we keep going, as they're making good progress in that development. In North Grove total, we had about 1,500 total lots, 130 future lots, 194 are vacant developed lots, 27 homes are currently under construction. There's about 1,100 homes that are already occupied. So we know that North Grove is toward the latter end of its development phase. Right now, a lot of that tends to be concentrated in the Oaks portion, which is just on the other side of North Grove Boulevard from where Simpson Elementary and the first couple of phases of North Grove's development were. Looking out over in the Cliff Zone, so immediately across Park Schoolhouse Road, we have the Camden Park development, which is about 620 total lots. 450 homes are currently in that development, about 130 vacant lots. So again, a development that's about 70% of the way through its life of being developed. A lot of homes, though, still to go in Camden Park. And then Symphony Estates, a little bit closer to Turner. Board, you may remember that previous board, I believe we sold some land that may have turned into the Symphony Estates development. But about 127 total lots. 93 homes are currently occupied, 32 vacant lots, and 2 homes are under construction. So again, a development that is about 75 or so percent through with its development. Still has a little bit of ways to go, but they've made some good progress on those 2 developments. Look real fast at multifamily housing. We saw a major slowdown back in, say, March of 25, where if you're looking at the chart on the right, your occupancy rates were significantly lower in March. Since then, they've rebounded to roughly 86.8%, 86.9%. That occupancy is really kind of holding steady from where it was about a year ago. So that annual change of about 0.1% down. But you're also seeing the asking rent an increase of about 1.5% of where it was a year ago. And that effective rent, again, back on the chart on the right, you're seeing that effective rent kind of hold steady from where it's been back in March. And so relatively consistent numbers for multifamily housing in terms of occupancy, and a little bit of about a 1.5% increase in that rent for multifamily units. As a district, there are about 4,800 future multifamily units in various stages of planning across the district. We look at these units generally in the Dunaway and the Wedgeworth zones, but really a multifamily unit, as more and more of these housing developments come in, they really could take place in any zone. These are just kind of the future ones right now planned in the district. Didn't talk a lot about enrollment projections in this one. This one really was more focused on housing and kind of the housing market around the area. This is kind of, board, what you can expect to see going forward. So the fall reports from demographics are generally going to be more focused on students, student enrollment, student growth projections, and then in the spring you're going to see more housing and more of those trends and put those all together for a holistic view. So as a district, we still do anticipate growth in students to about 17,400 students in 2034-35. It is a long way out. That's 10 years from now. We may hit that sooner. We may hit that a little bit later, but still in a growth trajectory for Waxahachie ISD, and a lot of that is backed up by the housing data that we just presented. With that, that's our demographic report for this quarter. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
Anything from Mr. Collin? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Report C, Informational Bond 2023 Construction Update. Mr. Mott?
Good evening, Board. Mr. McCutcheon. I'm here to give you the September 2025 construction bond update. So we're going to talk about Coleman Junior High, Finley Junior High, Howard Junior High, Waxahachie Creek, and Prop C. We'll start at Coleman. Coleman, we have moved in and finished everything on the warranty side of things. We're just going for those for a year on the warranty. We are still working on the back side, which is the track and field back there. It has been delayed another month for December 2025 due to charter cable. We cannot get them. We're still working with them trying to get the cable, getting a date from them to remove their fiber lines. We are to a point, and you'll see a picture here in a little bit, we're to a point on that is where we can't do pretty much anything else until that is removed. We have a pole sitting right dead middle of lane 5 of one of the curves. And they can't lay asphalt, they can't finish the concrete curb in that area and all that, so it is literally on them. They have given us the bill for that. We have sent that check in. They do not take wire, they do not take anything. We had to mail a check to Chicago, and it had to go through and be deposited before they'd start the work. All of that has now been done. Now we're just waiting on a time from them. I did reach out again this morning, haven't heard back as of this meeting starting from them as to any dates. I stay on them about every other week or so, every 10 days, I'm asking them for dates. So it is somewhat out of our hands. We've done everything we can and just keep pushing all we can with charter. Encore did finish everything they've got between their power and their fiber. Finley Junior High, we've moved all in there. We're still working on a few items. The cafeteria projector and screen did get put in over the weekend. We're looking to have training on it towards the end of the week. We'll have training on the cafeteria light, theater lighting and the cafeteria and all that will be training later in the week as well on that project. There's your front picture of, I'm sure most of y'all have seen by now, the front picture of the building. Here's a few pictures of the inside as well, the library and the serving line. If any of y'all have seen, that building does look totally different from when Mr. Zant was there. I don't know if you've been there through it. You haven't been through it yet, but it is a totally different look. For anybody that, I didn't get to attend that building, but anybody that did, it does look totally different if you did attend that, or if you were administrator or anything else there. Howard Junior High, same thing there as we have finished we're just doing warranty follow-up there for that areas there. Stage lighting in the cafeteria, it is due to go up this evening or tomorrow night, and then they'll finish it. The cafeteria projector is the same way there. And then the stage lighting in the drama room, it was a midsummer ad, so it's a little behind. That is something that the drama teacher asked for real late in the summer, so we added that in for them. So that is still a little bit behind. We're waiting on that product to actually come in to be able to put it in. It's not affecting them to do anything in the class or anything like that. She just asked for that, if we could add that so she could teach them the lighting there instead of having to go to the stage all the time where it may be being used by a band or someone else. That is on the cafeteria side. That is a new addition for the cafeteria there. Here's your picture of the cafeteria and the band hall. That is before the band hall moved all their items into the band hall there. Any questions on any of those before we go to the creek? So Waxahachie Creek High School, we're about overall, if you combine all of them, around 85% complete. As you can see, the storm is about 90%, water's about 80%, sewer's 95%, and the fire loop's about 80%. On some of those, we're as far as we can go on property, waiting on the city to finalize their sewer lines, waiting on them to finish their water on the front, when they can come in where we can connect to it. So some of those items, we cannot do anything until the city finishes their plan and or gets like the water line across the front. It actually gets installed where we have to hook up to where they come. We'll meet each other. So some of that is that 80% you probably won't see move for a while because we're just at that. We'll get to about 90 or 95% probably, and then it'll just hold until the city. I know they've got the water line out for bid right now. I believe bids go later this month, come in and open up later this month. The sewer has not gone out for bid yet, as I talked to him this morning. Hearing it may go out later this month, and then it will start as well. But like the storm, we're finishing that up, and then the fire loop is ongoing. We have started concrete. We're trying to do 3 major pours a week. Right now, we haven't got that in 2 weeks. We haven't gotten 3 major pours because of rain. The problem we're having with rain is it's making the ground too wet for the concrete trucks to be able to move across the ground, and for us to bring 18-wheeler loads of the dry material to go into the batch plant. It's just too wet to do it. We're now compacting that and all that so we can try to get around it, but we're working all we can to do it. We have poured 3 slabs of the 18 we have to pour. We've poured 6 of the paving of the 14 we have to pour for all that, not including parking lots. When I'm saying paving, that is just literally fire lane paving. That's what that is. That does not include any parking lots. That's just fire lanes. So as of today, we did get approval from, this afternoon, we did get approval from the fire department that we can go vertical with what we have poured. We can go vertical. So we now have the release to start going vertical when steel arrives here next week. We can start going vertical. The crane has been assembled and it was inspected last week. Steel's due to start arriving sometime this week, probably late week. They were really expecting it to start coming in early next week, but they said they may have some pieces come up, start arriving late this week. And then as soon as they start it out and shake it, they expect to start hanging steel next week. So it's moving along on that side of it is. We are performing street maintenance out there on Old Italy Road as we put mud on the road. They'll use a street sweeper on it. They're putting some gravel along the edges if the 18-wheelers are tearing up the edges or something. They're working to do that as much as they can with everything. We are working with Encore and Atmos to go ahead and start getting their lines coming that way, getting the easements across the property and all that, so we're ahead of that game when it's time. And like I say, you can see there, we're working with TxDOT to finalize the entrance at Highway 77. We have been back and forth, I believe it is 3 times now. We've sent them stuff, they sent it back, and so we're on the 3rd revision back to them. We'd like to start getting that finished and start using that entrance as fast as we can. We'd like to start bringing steel in off of 77 to make life a lot easier as we're going through that. So there's your picture of the overall site, as you can see there. That was actually early last week. You can see the crane is up. It's not in place at that moment. That is just where they erected it and waited for it. We still had to get geotechs reporting on where they're putting the crane to make sure we have the compaction so that crane doesn't start leaning as it starts to. We have to do all the compaction tests and all those kind of things. Go to the next one. You can see here, that's a different picture of the view. Now you can see there, if you see that long white line there, it ties into a gray area. That was last Friday when we were pouring. That was the last, that dark gray you see there. That's the last of the fire lanes that we had to pour to be able to go vertical. That gives us a temporary entrance off of the highway, off of Old Italy Road, and then it gets us a temporary over into the fire loop for the front. We're actually going to start about where that crane's tower is where we're going to start hanging steel when we start hanging it there. And here's another picture of the other areas you can see throughout. You can see back in that, it's just another view of it. You can see the fire loop right there, and you can see where those 3 slabs are poured there. We'll start on that front corner, which is some of the gen ed, and we'll work our way around the area there. If you just kind of make that L and start going down that side, that's where we're going to start pouring this week, that slab right there. That area right back there that's the last of the grade beams we're pouring back there, and that's all in the athletic area. That's all that's left. And then we'll have all the grade beams poured. Here's some of your asphalt and electrical lines you see there, and the leveling of the building, because we're doing a lot of sealed concrete. You really want the slab to be really flat, because then when that sun hits it, you'll see every little wave in it. So it's pretty critical. So that's why that machine there, it's actually a GPS machine to make it really pure level. So picture there you see A1, A2, A3, and B have all been poured. C is half of that will be poured this week. As long as we get everything poured, it'll be poured Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So about 2 o'clock Wednesday night, we're pouring half of that, and then next half we'll pour next week. All the gray areas you see, like I was just talking about, those are all your polished concrete. So the nice thing about that is it'll be mostly polished concrete, very few flooring in the building like LVT or VCT or anything like that in the building. We will have some carpet areas and a little bit of LVT, but not very much. Here's your concrete pours, you can kind of understand. So that area there in that south paving where it says that loop is all poured, and that first purple of east paving has been poured. That is the area that we had to get to come from that purple into that yellow to give us a temporary loop. Because in long term, for them to access the front of that building, they would come off of Spur 394, which all of us know it hasn't even started. So for them to be able to have access if we have need for them, once we go vertical, they'll be coming off of Old Italy Road there. But we've got 2 more of those east pavings to go this week, and then we'll start working our way across, so that pink and the dark brown, then we'll start working our way across the back and get the west paving as much as we can. The last thing, we won't be able to get that pink part of that west paving, because right in that circle, in that pink part, that's where the batch plant sits. So we won't be able to get it until we're pretty much try to finish with concrete and decide to move the batch plant out. Proposition C, the big things that are going on right now in Proposition C are North Side and Dunaway playgrounds. Dunaway is getting a second playground. They've not had a second playground there, so they're getting a second playground. We're replacing the cover on the first one that had rips, and we're turfing both playgrounds. They should be completed by mid next week at the most. On Dunaway, Northside just started late last week on removing theirs. They're probably about 3 to 4 weeks to be full completion between demo and putting everything in on those two. We are finishing a few badge readers, mainly on a lot of the doors that had crash bars, like cafeterias, gym, and library. And then we're continuing to do cafeteria sound upgrades on all elementary campuses. Here's your Dunaway. That was taken this morning, that picture there. That's the rock has to go under and the levels they have to do there. That's about 10 inches of rock they have to put underneath that one to raise it up there. Any questions?
Anything from Mr. Mott? Looks like you ought to have plenty of dry weather in the next few weeks, so.
That's what we're hoping. We're hoping.
All right, our last report will be our informational report at WISD's Balanced Scorecard Priority 1.1 and 1.2, 2025 TEA accountability ratings. Ms. Hilburn, you doing this by yourself?
Part of it I am, and then Mr. Cagle and Ms. Robinson are going to
Okay.
come up. So yeah, I'm going to hit the first part. So good evening, board and Ms. McCutcheon. It's always a pleasure to come and talk to y'all about a little data and some accountability. So we're going to jump right into this. A through F accountability, just to give you a little background history. A through F accountability, I get kind of frustrated when scores come out. People think it's really simple. Oh, it's all about star scores. It's much more complex than that. A manual for our accountability is 271 pages that we have to get through and figure out kind of how it all works. The way the state runs things is they change accountability cycle every 5 years. And so we're in the 4th year of a 5-year cycle. You remember me talking to you before about how we had STAR 1.0? STAR 1.0 was all multiple choice questions. STAR 2.0 in the accountability cycle that we're in right now, much more rigorous. Only 75% of those points can come from multiple choice, so a lot more difficult test. And now we're going into, listen to legislation, we're going to go into a new cycle in 2 more years, which they're talking about the new STAR per se. They just put a new name on it, which talks about growth. And so within that, you would have a beginning of the year, a middle of the year, and also an end of the year. And so really what I want to tell you is there's a lot more to this than we're just looking at STAR scores. And so just to give you a little background history on that. So let's go ahead and jump right in. State is really want you to see the results of school districts or of campuses. So you can go to this texasschools.gov. You can look up any campus or any school district in the state of Texas to see how their ratings are or more information about them. So jumping in, remember I told you this part's 271 pages, but I'm going to do it in a nutshell, saying it falls into 3 domains. Domain 1 is student achievement, all about STAR scores. You see that domain 2 there, it falls into 2 parts, an A and a B. It talks about growth, and it talks about relative performance, and we're going to hit that up a little bit more. And then there's domain 3, and you get to take the higher of those 2, which counts 70% of your overall rating. 30% comes from closing the gaps. What is closing the gaps? It's kind of a culmination of both of those, and I'll dig in a little bit deeper as we get going on to this. Anytime you see a STAR, you're going to see our data compared to the state or potentially compared to the region. Down there in that bottom yellow part is also how you can pull these reports if you want to dig a little bit deeper. But when you look at this, this is campus ratings. And so on the left-hand side is the state. So, of course, the green is A's, that blue purplish color is B's, and then the violet color is C's, and so forth and so on. So across the state, that's on the left-hand side. But on the right-hand side, if you look how WISD did, and what I put the number out beside that percentage is the number of campuses that hit that area, whether it was A, B, C, or D. But what I want to point out to you is these tables in the middle. And you'll see that 50% of WISD campuses stayed the same. But if you look on the left-hand side, 55% across the state also stayed the same. So we're not abnormal when we start looking at this data compared to how we did to the state. Proportional weighting is something that is very new. So back in 1.0 days, if I was a campus of 200 or I was a campus of 2,200, both of those campuses counted the same for accountability. They changed that to proportional weighting. So what that means is, in this example, you have 2,400 students in the whole district. That campus 1 has 334 students enrolled. So it accounts for 13.8%, okay? And you go down and do that for every single campus. Over on the right-hand side, this is a score for domain 2, which is growth. And the example that they gave here was an 85. So 13.8% of 85 is equivalent to 11.7 points. So you do that for every campus, you go down, you add all those up, and you get a final score. Here is proportional weighting for WISD. So you'll notice WHS is, of course, our biggest. They account for 35.6% of your accountability. Your junior highs count between 9 and 10%. Our elementaries count between 2 and 4. And high school of choice, which is one of our A's, which was great, but they only count for 0.7% because of that student population. When you go over to the right-hand side, these are also our comparisons with school progress. So an example is WHS got 60. If you take 35.6% of that, it's equivalent to 21 points. And you do that for every single campus, you go down to the bottom and you get a final score. This is comparing district ratings. On the left is the state, on the right is the region. Remember how I told you there was star 1.0, star 2.0. Star 2.0, much more rigorous because less multiple choice questions. They're just totally different. What you're gonna see where that arrow is to the left, look at the green. You'll see in the green for both the state and the region, a lot more districts that were A's, also a lot more districts that were B's. If you look to the right of that arrow, that changed, okay? A lot less districts were A, less were B's, more in that C range. And you'll also notice the last 3 years, 23, 24, 25, it's kind of has a stagnant level. There's no one really growing, no one really going backwards within this. This next part, left-hand side, is comparing Region 10 to WISD. And so same thing to the left, so 2019, 2018, star 1.0, we had a lot more green in that. And then you look on the right-hand side, a lot less green, more of that blue purplish color, and also that violet color. And again, that's that star 2.0. So what does this really mean when we're looking at this? You see in 2019, WISD was an 89. In 2022, we were an 85. And then it says 2022, what if? It took those numbers, it's the same numbers, same year that we got 85, and they plugged that into the new accountability rating system. So taking the same numbers, plug it into a new system, you can see how we dropped 8 points, even though we got an 85 in 22. And so then you can kind of see the trend with the new accountability. In 2023, we're 78, and then 24 and 25, where we're at 76. This is overall district ratings, and so this is districts. Earlier we looked at campuses. On the left-hand side is the state. On the right-hand side is our district. Again, for 24-25, we were both 76. But if you look over on the left-hand side in that table, it says 64% of districts stayed the same. We're right there with that 64%. So we're not far off from what the state is doing. Student achievement. Again, domain 1 is about star scores. For junior highs and high schools, 100% of that category is about star. For high schools, it breaks up. 40% is about star, 40% is about college and career and military readiness. And by the way, that number changed, and we've presented to you that before. Back in the day, you had to get around that 68% to be an A for your number of kids that were getting CCMR. Now it's 88% to get an A. It jumped a full 20 points, and so you can tell it's a lot more rigorous. And then that 20% down there is the graduation rate. In domain 1, we have approaches, meets, and masters when a student takes star scores. The colorful bars up at the top are how the state did. And you can see there's a bar graph for reading, math, science, and social studies. In the table right down there below is our scores. They're just not color-coded like the bar graph, with the same results for approaches, meets, and masters. So for example, for us in reading language arts approaches, we were 77. The state was 76. For meets, we were 51. The state was 54. For masters, we were 18. The state was 22. And you can go by and look at each one of those per subject to see how we did. And you'll hear me talking a little bit on some of those areas that we want to improve on, which would be that meets and masters area that we have a point of emphasis on this year. Next part, Domain 2, school progress. What is school progress? We want kids to grow. And mind you, when kids grow, we're only talking about math and reading. Those are the only two tests that a student takes every single year. You do not have it in science and social studies. So part A is academic growth. Part B is relative performance. What does relative performance mean? If I have a high economically disadvantaged population, the state understands our STAR scores may be a little bit lower. But it also understands that if I have a lower socioeconomic disadvantaged number, my STAR score should be higher. So that's how that works. So here's an example of growth on the left-hand side. I'm a student, and in 2024, I got approaches low. I took the same test, whether it was reading or math, in 2025 and got a meets. That is growth, okay? It can also be from approaches low to approaches low. As long as they don't go backwards, we get growth points for them. We call them hoppers and not droppers is how we have kids. We've presented this to kids, and they also say they're stayers. So we made up a word that you can stay the same and you're a stayer. On the right-hand side of that is relative performance. So on that y-axis, you see student achievement, which is STAR scores. On the x-axis, you see economically disadvantaged. You take both of those numbers, you move them up your bar graph, you hit one of those plots, and you determine whether you're at A, B, C, or D within that area. This is district rating comparisons for Domain 2, so this is talking about growth. Not a lot of green up there, a little more blue, but a lot of that violet color. For us in academic growth, we did gain 2 points. In 2024, we went from a 63 to 2025, a 65. Relative performance, we stayed the same. And you get to take the higher of these two categories, and so we took that number of 73. And so when you look over on the left-hand side in that table, stayed the same across the state. 63% of districts stayed the same in growth, and so did we. We fall right in that range. Closing the gaps, very difficult to explain. So I asked Gemini, if I was talking to doing a board presentation, how would you explain this to the board? And it came up with this long, big, long phrase, and then it gave me a 45-minute video for you to watch. So I didn't figure you wanted to watch the video, so I'm just gonna leave it to this. It's really a culmination of, hey, how many kids got meets and masters? It looks at our TELPAS scores. It looks at our growth. It looks at our graduation rates. But it looks at them by all students, and you can see in those little places up there, it looks at it by race and ethnicity. It looks at it by special education, continuously enrolled students, EB students, and economically disadvantaged students. And then it compares that to all those different groups across the state of Texas, and then we get a score. Domain 3, here's how districts are doing on the left-hand side. You can see, again, the green is the A's and so forth and so on. So for us, we did fall a little bit on this one. We went from a 77 to a 75. And so that's just a little bit lower in what the state was, that 50% of districts stayed the same, so we fell a little bit behind in this area. So just looking at local comparisons and context, I always know that you want to compare to see how we're doing with other districts, which, by the way, I will tell you, there's only 3, 4, maybe 5 districts that are comparable to us. If we really go dig and look at number of kids, look at our low socioeconomic disadvantage number, look at ethnicity groups, our special education population, our EB population, there's not many out there. But you can go to this website, you can compare campuses, or you can compare districts. So just for this presentation, I just chose 2 districts that are very near to us. So I chose Ennis and I chose Red Oak. And so you can see how it's broken down into student achievement, which is all about STAR scores. That school progress, you take the higher of academic growth and relative performance. And then that closing the gaps, again, is a culmination of everything, but you can go in and you can do your comparison of your own and see how other districts did compared to Waxahachie ISD. Campus comparison groups. This is when you really know how you are doing. Sometimes it's even hard for our campuses to compare how another campus is doing in the district because they're not the same. And so we get compared, each campus, to 40 comparison groups. How do they do that? by grade level, by size, by EBs, by SPED, all the thing that I talked about earlier about how districts are compared. And they have what's called distinctions and designations. Distinctions and designations come from how many kids are in that master's area when we talk about STAR. It talks about attendance. It talks about growth. It talks about how our kids are doing on ACT, SAT, AP, dual credit, all kinds of things. And so within this, these are our campuses that got distinctions and designations. Dunaway hit one for academic achievement in reading and academic achievement in science. So that's meaning they did very, very well compared to their 40 comparison campuses with attendance and masters. Northside hit it in comparative growth. So that means that domain 2, their students, their performance levels, they were in that top 25% quartile 1 of the 40 schools like them. Coleman hit it in 3 areas. Same thing, top comparative growth. They hit it in post-secondary readiness. Post-secondary readiness looks at STAR scores and meets and masters only. And so they're saying when kids hit that meets and masters, they're post-secondary ready. And then they did also the top 25 in comparative closing. And then also Global High got a top 25% in comparative growth, just like Coleman and Northside. So kind of to sum up a little bit and just give you an overview of how we did, Wedgeworth increased in overall on their A through F by 17 points, Northside by 10, Shack by 9, Howard by 5. Dunaway, Northside, Shackelford, and Coleman, they hit B in their growth area, which is a big, big area that we focus on. High School of Choice jumped from a B to an A. Shackelford had the biggest gains in Telpass. And then we had 3 campuses that were 2 or less points shy from earning a B, which is really big. And then our CCMR percentage that we talked about earlier, that also increases every year and also is a point of emphasis for us. We also talk to principals and we use principal focus meeting time to focus on these areas that we really think that we can hone into and even improve our grade even more. But we have to remind ourselves, how do you eat that elephant? It's one bite at a time. And so we pull those things that we can get the most bang for our buck in. One of them is growth. And so student growth, and we want our students to be involved in that as well as our teachers. We're going to continue to improve our meets and masters. We're going to continue to utilize our dashboards. We have revamped our student dashboard this year as well. Last year at the end of the year, Dada Dude and myself, we were doing presentations to kids also. And then extended constructed response. You remember back in the day you had 4th grade and 7th grade writing? Well, all the writing is now built into all tests but math. And so we're really honing into extended constructed responses because they count 20% of a student's overall STAR score. So that was really fast and a lot of information. Do you have any questions? Or are you just going, I'm trying to keep up with what you just said?
I've got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You need time to take a breath?
I'm good.
Okay.
I ran 3 miles this morning, so lungs are good.
This may be a little bit off of what you're talking about, but so that we can have a better understanding of the urgency at Clift,
Okay.
what's going to happen next year if we're in the same situation there that we are this year?
So the way the state looks at it is they look at Ds as they're not where we need to be, but they don't get you into the state coming in and saying, okay, now we're going to tell you what to do. It's with that F rating. But you can take Fs and Ds, and when you get 5 of those in a row, then that's when the state comes in and says, okay, you know, that could be a takeover, or they have a different board of governors that oversee what's going on. I know for Cliff right now, they are a comprehensive campus, and so what that means is we get extra support that we'll go in and they'll have a plan. It's a lot of work, a lot of training that I know Ms. Heimbuck is leading up right now, and Ms. Strong will be a part of that. And we'll really look in and hone into those things, kind of like I showed you before. Where are those areas that we really need to dig into so we don't get in that 5-year consecutive cycle of a D or an F, and the state doesn't come in and do anything like that. So does that answer your question? Okay. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Ms. Hilbert, when you were talking about the campus comparison groups, how will we find that exactly?
You can Google 40 comparative campus groups, TEA, and it will pop right up. But yes, simple as that.
Google campus comparison groups, TIA or TEA.
Yeah, TEA, Campus Comparative Groups, and it will pop right up. You can also go to texasschools.gov, and you can get to it from that way too and see those 40, and then you can dig into distinctions and designations. That texasschools.gov has all kinds of information for you to dig into. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, it's just knowing what to look for
Yeah,
and how
no.
to look for it. Could we please receive this, could you send us this presentation so we can go back over it?
Sure.
'Cause you've explained it very well, so.
Absolutely.
that'll
Yes,
keep it
ma'am.
a little less,
A little more time to
research.
dig in, I understand.
huh?
A little more time to dig in.
Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Ms. Robinson, before you start, I would like to wish you a happy birthday. I know this is not where you probably want to be spending your birthday. Happy birthday.
It's a great birthday. Here I am. Right where I want to be. You and me both. Right, yes, I heard. It happened to you too, so. All right, Sean.
Good evening, Board. Ms. McCutcheon. We're going to address our balanced scorecard numbers 1.2. So Ginger and I kind of handle this because it has to do with student behavior and perceptions and processes related to safety and security. So I just wanted to touch on a couple of things right here. As Ryan pointed out just earlier, that we actually have hit our 96% goal of ADA for the first month. Hopefully we can keep that up for sure. But one of the things that it talks about the Choose Love program and our house systems. We are still developing protocols on how to measure the effectiveness of those, and Choose Love is quite new.
So last year we piloted our Choose Love program at Clift and Dunaway. This year it's our Tier 1 Positive Behavior Support Program. It is across all of our elementary campuses. In August, all of our pre-K and elementary campuses attended a kickoff with the Choose Love founder, Scarlett Lewis, and they were trained on the implementation of the program. So we hope that we see with this Tier 1 across all of our classrooms with this positive support in behavior, we're going to see that our behavior numbers start to decrease. So, I'll finish. Yeah. Go ahead. Last year we were able to hire a coordinator of mental health and counseling. One of her areas that she oversees is she is a general education behavior interventionist on our campuses. Her report for 24-25 is for Tier 1 prevention. She worked with 57 cases. Tier 2 and Tier 3 is our little more intense behavior students, and she, across the district, put in 104 observation and intervention programs. And that was just across our elementary campuses on those numbers.
There was quite a few more if you count all across the district.
Yes, that was just elementary.
So on this slide, I just wanted to talk briefly that it does talk about threat assessment. As you all know, we have a new platform that is statewide where we report all of our threat assessment. We are gaining training. We are providing training. We got a little bit to our principals this morning, and there will be more, as Ms. McCutcheon mentioned earlier, for our APs, and that's where all of our threat assessment teams will put in any sort of reports. I did want to mention in this slide, notice it says that our goal is to have 100% of staff trained by December, and we are well on our way of 75%. I know that several of our staff members struggle to get into the trainings because they are so needed across the state. Did you have anything on the one before?
No.
Nope.
I think that's it. Next one should be me.
Yep.
All right, so along with safety is our well-being of students. So we want to talk about our mental health programs. This year for suicide awareness is kind of where we're at right now. We've created posters, distributed those across the campuses. This is National Suicide Awareness Month. For this month, we have information that goes out to our parents. We are also having our 8th grade students receiving a presentation in suicide awareness prevention, and also our 10th graders that's presented by the Grant Halliburton Foundation. And then this coming Wednesday, we have a parent presentation for our junior high. It's called Juggling Junior High, where we'll talk about all the things that go along with junior high and also mental health wellness. And then also we have our Mind Above Matter program. That is our intensive after-school treatment facility. Currently we have 5 students that are in the clinic. One that is in the pipeline for assessment. Last year in 24-25, we ended the year serving 31 students in the clinic who successfully discharged, and that was through July because we ran the program all through the summer. So we had 31 successful discharges. Our next one is our Next Step counselors. That's our licensed therapists that are across the district. That is free for our students so that they don't have to leave to get those services. Last year, they saw 442 of our students and held 3,294 sessions across our district. And those are on our K through 12th grade campuses. And then our final is Care Solace, is our wraparound services. It's for our students, our staff, and their families. It is a service that helps our families find mental health providers or behavior providers for their students. They had 68 total cases last year, 147 individuals assisted, and 3,856 communications and 51 matches to help our families find mental health providers.
Any questions for us?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
For Ginger. What do you think, in your opinion, we need at Clift?
So I pulled some data because that is one of our campuses where we do find some of our high needs. Monica Taylor, our coordinator that I mentioned earlier for behavior strategies, worked a lot on that campus during 24-25. So we pulled some data, and we found that the data from 23-24, I'll just give you a little, there were 326 instances in 23-24. Last year, there were only 204. We're watching the behavior decrease, and I feel like it's because we've been able to put her on that campus to be able to provide interventions. Now, here's the unfortunate thing. She's across the district. That is just, Clift is just one campus that she's now servicing across all of WISD. But I think we can see that we have positive growth when an behavior interventionist is in place and can support that campus. And I feel like if we could have a behavior interventionist in there, we could see those behaviors continue to decrease, and that the staff, the administrative staff, could start working on instruction, which then again goes back to Ms. Hilburn's report and the questions that you had about instruction. Now that's the data I can give you for discipline and behavior. We did see a decrease, but we were able to put I was able to put my coordinator there she was there over 160 hours just in the first semester, which equals to about 21 days. So that's working with teachers, working with students, trying to decrease those behaviors. So that's just and Choose Love. That was one of our pilot schools. So we were able to put that positive behavior support system in place on that campus. So you put a behavior interventionist there who can support the staff with those behaviors full time, and they can oversee that positive behavior program. I think you're going to continue to see those numbers decrease. That's just my personal opinion, my
How hard is
professional.
it to find someone like that, or could Monica train somebody?
She could. It would obviously we would want a certified person. We, of course, counselors, but we have, there are social workers out that are trained to handle behaviors as well. So yes, a behavior interventionist could be trained. Yes.
So it sounds like that's key to getting what we need over there.
I think we would see just somebody who could just embrace those behaviors and allow those administrators to be in the classroom with those teachers and working on instruction.
Yeah, like they should be. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Thank you guys very much.
Thanks for the birthday wish.
The next item will be item 6, our informational items. There's 3 reports that are contained in your board book for your review and for informational items only. Anyone have any questions on those? Okay, we'll move to our consent agenda. We have consent agenda items A through G. We have been asked to remove letter D. So we have A, B, C, E, F, G up for consideration. Specifically state those numbers, letters, excuse me. Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Schofield. Second by Mr. McCutcheon. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, moving on to action item A, consideration with possible action to approve the establishment of the 2027-2028 attendance zones between Waxahachie High School and Waxahachie Creek High School, and establish the attendance zone for the anticipated construction and opening of junior high school number 4.
Thank you, sir. Board, you may gently remember this item. It was on our August agenda, and we pushed it to September, but kind of want to walk you back through what we've been doing all summer. So we started in January with the town hall on safety and security and started trying to get some feedback from our community, knowing that we would have to have an attendance zone for Waxahachie Creek. Administration worked through the spring to kind of look at those ideas and plans and came up with an attendance zone recommendation, and we had 6 town hall meetings over the summer, 2 in June, 2 in July, and 2 in August. So kind of want to walk you through what we did, where we are, and then the recommendation. Going into zoning, our priorities from a district level were socioeconomic balance between any 2 high school campuses. Those are comprehensive high school campuses. Pure junior high feeders, we would love to have a pure junior high feeder. It makes life a little bit easier for all involved. We would like if the campuses can start in different UIL districts. We know that that's not going to stay different UIL districts forever and a day, but if we can start them in different UIL districts, I would believe that would be beneficial. And then we also want to efficiently utilize those, our high school campuses. We did ask our community as part of the January town hall, when opening Waxahachie Creek, what are your thoughts on a freshman only or freshman sophomore? And got some feedback. About 54% of our respondents told us that they were good with a freshman sophomore opening. About 40% told us freshman only, and about 7% did not have an opinion as it related to that feedback. We also sought feedback on our priorities. So those 4 that I mentioned, we had our community essentially tell us that pure junior high feeders was one of the more important things that they sought on that list, with about 61% of the respondents mentioning it as a concern. And then the next highest was travel time or route to Waxahachie Creek High School. While I don't build roads, I do certainly understand that the travel time to Waxahachie Creek is going to be a concern for some of our community members. But what we tried to do as an administrative group was to keep the zone contiguous for Waxahachie Creek and not have pocket areas throughout the district that might make travel more of a challenge or a concern for any student that may be zoned to Waxahachie Creek. Looking at the proposed zone from an elementary perspective, right now you can kind of see a little bit of a darker black line between Wedgeworth and Dunaway, and then it kind of goes around Marvin and splits north side and kind of goes up where 287 would be between Northside and Felty, and follows between Felty and Simpson. So that would be that dark line would be your delineation between Waxahachie High and Waxahachie Creek. Holistically, you're looking at whole zones of Cliff, Dunaway, Felty, Marvin, and Jimmy Ray Elementary that would all feed into Waxahachie Creek, and then Northside, Shackelford, Simpson, and Wedgeworth, which would feed into Waxahachie High. There's the truth in that is that they would feed into a junior high and then pure junior high feeders into that high school program. One campus you don't see listed is Wildman. Wildman is a lottery campus, and so as such, students who attend Wildman go back to their home zoned elementary for purposes of determining that feeder pattern into junior high and or high school. So we did not omit Wildman unintentionally. It was omitted because those students go back to that home zone going forward. If this zone was put into place today and Waxahachie Creek High School opened with all 4 grade levels today, we would have about 48.6% of the students at Waxahachie High School as economically disadvantaged and 54.1% at Waxahachie Creek economically disadvantaged. So pretty good balance between the two schools, all things considered, as we look at pure elementary and pure junior high feeders. Take you to the table, the enrollment forecast below. 27-28 would be the first year that we were looking at Waxahachie Creek. But again, we're looking at freshman, sophomore only, and this table is assuming all 4 grade levels start in that 27-28 school year. So if you go out a little bit to 29-30, that would be the first year that we would reasonably anticipate that we would have all 4 grade levels at Waxahachie High and Waxahachie Creek. If you look at the enrollment projections in 29-30, right about 1,700 students at Waxahachie High School and about 1,950 students at Waxahachie Creek. So a little bit of a delta, about 250 students, which is really an efficient utilization of space at both campuses. I have plenty of room to grow into. That might also get me into different UIL districts. While not the chief concern, that is a large enough of a delta that may get me in different UIL districts when UIL realignment happens. Looking out long-term in 2034-35, I'm looking at the enrollment, projected enrollment for Waxahachie High at 2,067 and Waxahachie Creek at about 2,180. A little bit of a delta, but you're seeing that delta shrink a little bit between those two campuses, which really is a good thing overall. I'm not burdening any one campus at the expense of the other, but it also tells me that just on the surface, in the immediate future, that the proposed zone for Waxahachie Creek is not going to overburden that campus. It's also not going to leave an unmanageable student enrollment at Waxahachie High either. So pretty good long-term forecast, at least through 2034-35 for that zone. Students don't go from elementary straight into high school, so they make that stop in junior high. So to give you an idea of what that 4th junior high zoning would look like whenever junior high number 4 comes online, wanted to show you this chart. So we'd be looking at Northside and Wedgeworth attending Coleman Junior High, Jimmy Ray and Felty attending Howard Junior High, Shackelford and Simpson combining into Findlay Junior High, and Clift, Dunaway, and Marvin attending junior high number 4. Again, we'd be looking at Howard and junior high number 4 going into Waxahachie Creek, and then we'd be looking at Findlay and Coleman zoning into Waxahachie High School. In all of the plans that administration had looked at and put together, we actually came up with about 4 different plans for junior high feeders. Each plan has its own challenges, its own warts. Some of the other 3 plans that we came up with, enrollment was the problem. I have 3 junior high campuses sitting at about 1,000 students to 1,200 students each, and one campus sitting at about 500 students. So we're not efficiently utilizing our facilities when we look at it that way. With this plan, I'm looking at economically disadvantaged percentages, and I see that I range anywhere from 44% to about 68%. I know that I have one outlier with junior high 4 at about 68%. I do believe that I know that that is based off of current demographics within those zones. I do believe that will change as we get closer to junior high number 4 opening. As I look at the demographic reports and all of the data that shows me that the average value of the homes that we are building generally are pretty large compared to where they have been in the past. We're starting homes at $350,000, $400,000, and in some of these zones, particularly in Dunaway zone, we have a neighborhood going in with about $550,000 homes in that area. So that will help to increase decrease the economically disadvantaged population within that junior high 4 zone. But this is a number based off of today, if junior high 4 opened today. As I look down into the enrollment chart, 2930 would be the first year that I would anticipate that we could potentially have junior high 4 on the ground. If I look at 2930, I'm looking at about 700 to 860 students at each of the 4 junior highs. And then as I look out to 3435, I have one campus at a little over 1,000, and I have the other 3 campuses right at 900 or just shy of 1,000 themselves. Pretty good balance and distribution of our students between the campuses. We will need to work with the principal. If these numbers hold true and the economic disadvantage percentage holds steady for when junior high 4 opens, we will need to work with the campus principal to ensure that they have the resources and the personnel necessary to offset that increase, that outlying increase in the economic disadvantage percentage of the students zoned to junior high number 4. As we are mainly talking about the zone for Waxahachie Creek High School, a couple of transfer options and grandfathering that we wanted to put on the table and ask the board to consider. These were mentioned with our community. A one-time transfer option, so if a student is zoned to a high school campus that does not offer an academic program that they would like to be a part of. We know that about 80% of our CTE courses are going to be duplicative between Waxahachie Creek and Waxahachie High. There will be some differentiation. So if a student would like to be a part of one of those CTE academic programs or another academic program that may not be offered at the campus they are zoned for, we're proposing a one-time election where a student can transfer to the other high school campus. And as long as they are in that academic program, they're able to stay at that campus. If they stop participating in that academic program, they will go back to their home campus. If they are successfully transferred in the one-time option, they would be able to take advantage of all of the other opportunities at the campus that they are electing to attend. So if we have a student who wants to be a part of the big commercial culinary kitchen at Waxahachie High and they're zoned for Waxahachie Creek, that would not stop them from participating on the debate team or participating in band just because their transfer option was for the culinary program. They could participate in the other activities as well. Students who are zoned for Waxahachie High but would like to transfer into Waxahachie Creek, as long as we are offering that grade level, we're proposing to let students transfer into Waxahachie Creek. One limitation that those students should be aware of, though, is that board policy EIC local and UIL regulations would be in effect. And so EIC says for a student to participate in graduation honors that they would have to be at that campus for 3 years. So this would stop students from 2 years down the road in their junior year deciding they now want to transfer to Waxahachie Creek because they have a better chance of being valedictorian. Those honors are awarded according to EIC based off of a minimum of 3 years of high school at the same campus. So a student who is at Waxahachie High and would like to attend Waxahachie Creek, as long as their graduating class is offered at Waxahachie Creek, we'd be open to allowing students to transfer into Waxahachie Creek High School. A sibling transfer, this is this is the main one that came up in our town hall meetings. This was not originally a proposal to have a sibling transfer, but for students who are zoned to Waxahachie Creek for a grade level that's not offered, so they are your juniors or seniors at the opening of Waxahachie Creek High School, they would still be attending Waxahachie High. The question was, would their siblings be able to also attend Waxahachie High to make it easier for transportation purposes for parents or the siblings involved. So we are proposing a sibling transfer for those two classes, the class of 27 and the class of 28. So those seniors or those juniors with the opening of Waxahachie Creek that would be zoned to Waxahachie Creek but attending Waxahachie High, if they have a sibling that is enrolled in high school at the same time that they are enrolled in the district, so no overlap, no gaps, that those younger siblings would also be able to attend Waxahachie High. This is not a legacy transfer, so when those students graduate in the class of 28, if they have a sibling that is then entering their 9th grade year, they would go to that zoned campus. This is not a legacy that would allow students to, or siblings to continue that transfer going forward. And then one request for grandfathered students, Board, we'd like for you to consider that a student who has earned at least 1 credit towards graduation be able to stay at that campus that they earned that credit towards graduation. A student who takes a class in summer school or who earned that graduation credit in junior high would not count for purposes of this grandfathering. But essentially, the purpose of this would be to not rip a student out of, if they're in the band program and they've kind of made their way up in their chairs and they're on their way to being a drum major, to not rip them out and make them go to Waxahachie Creek if they chose to stay at Waxahachie High, as long as they've earned that 1 credit towards graduation. Overarching for all of the transfers and grandfathering, any student who is a transfer student must provide their own transportation to and from school. So if they're attending the zone or the school that is not in their zone, they would have to provide that transportation to and from. With that, I would open it up for any questions you may have, and then ask for your approval. At this point, Board, this is kind of the linchpin for those next steps as we start preparing for the opening of Waxahachie Creek. With the establishment of zones, we can continue our work to name a mascot and work on colors and all the other things that go into the opening of a campus, as we really want student participation, and this would be our way of determining which students would be in that zone to be impacted so that we can start targeting them for input in their campus mascot and their campus colors.
Any questions for Mr. Calden?
Yes, the excuse me, the one-time WHS transfer over
sir.
to Creek. I mean, how long is that in place for? Is that like just year 1, or is that?
So the general idea would be at the opening of Waxahachie Creek, if you are zoned for Waxahachie High, so you would have to be a freshman or a sophomore in the 27-28 school year, that you could elect to transfer into Waxahachie Creek, that would stay with you for the remainder of your high school career. So it would really just be those 2 years.
Those 2 years.
In 27-28 that you would have that ability to transfer into Waxahachie Creek.
Gotcha.
Mr. Colin, with
sir.
the construction of Frankie Lugette at some point, how would that change this?
Fruit basket turnover, sir. Fruit basket turnover.
I knew you'd kill me.
So realistically, to answer your question, and I'm going to go back on the map. So right now, let's go to the other one because it makes it easier. Right now, you see kind of my elementary zones. I really don't know where Frankie Lugette Elementary is going to go. So to be really honest, if it goes between, man, I wish I had a laser pointer. If it goes between Wedgeworth and Dunaway, truly, sir, fruit basket turnover, because now I've got to either split a campus or I've got to rework some of the metrics within it. As we kind of looked earlier in the demographics report, I got a couple of hot spots. I got between Clift and Jimmy Ray. If I'm looking at kind of the activity in the zone in my 2nd and 3rd futures area, if I do it between, if Frankie Lugette is impacting Clift and Jimmy Ray, honestly, no impact, because those are currently feeding the same high school. It will have an impact on the junior high. The other one that was my big futures, my really big futures, is Wedgeworth. So if I'm putting Frankie Lugette in say wholly within the Wedgeworth zone, I don't honestly believe that that has any impact on junior high or high school matriculation. I just add one more campus, and I now have 5 that are zoned to a junior high to feed Waxahachie Creek, and 5 that are zoned to a junior high to feed Waxahachie High on the other side of this graphic. But To be real candid, sir, I don't know where Frankie Lujette's going to go right now, and it could be a nothing burger, or it could be complete disruption, and we're talking again pretty soon down the line with the opening of Frankie Lujette.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item A as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Timmerman. I have a second. Second by Mr. Schofield. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. And our last action item will be consideration with possible action to nominate one person to be included on the ballot and potentially appointed to the Ellis County Appraisal District Board of Directors by the taxing entities in the county.
Board, I have to fully admit, I made an error on this one. It's one nominee for each position that's open for appointment. So you technically can get 2 nominees if you have those at this time. Last time we talked about the process, and by October 14th, we have to have our nominees into the appraisal district if you would like to nominate anybody for potential appointment. Because of the timing, our next meeting is on the 14th, which would be us getting that information to them after the deadline. Then we moved it up to September. So we talked a little bit on the 26th of August about this process. So tonight, board, it's up to you to come up with one up to 2 nominees that you would like to put forward for potential inclusion on the balloting for appointment to the Ellis County Appraisal District Board of Directors.
Does anyone have anyone in particular they would like to nominate? I did have one individual that expressed some interest. I had a discussion. I forwarded his biography and resume to Mr. Calden today. Do you have that handy? So his name's Tim Cummings.
Tim Cummings, yes, sir.
Yes, longtime realtor in the district, has kids that attend WISD. That was the only person that, I spoke to several, that was the only person that actually got back to me with a bio and a resume.
Yes, sir. It appears that Mr. Cummings has been, let's see, Ellis County generally since June of 2012. So a pretty good tenured resident of Ellis County with plenty of knowledge in the real estate industry.
And I do know he spoke to our current representative on the board, Mr. Keeler, and got the details and whatnot. I did ask him if he did that, and he did do that, so. If there's no objection, I will make that nomination that Mr. Cummings be our nominee for the Ellis County Appraisal District Board of Directors. So, a motion by myself, second by Mr. McCutcheon. It'll be the first motion I made in a long time. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you,
Thank you
Board.
guys very much. And I need a motion to.
We're not going to nominate a second one?
No, nobody has another name?
Is Keeler not going to be on there?
No, he's retiring from everything.
So moved.
Okay. A motion by Ms. Kriegel,
Second.
second by Mr. Pitts. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.